Hey, everybody. Today's April 2nd, and I wanted to share the reflection written by Andrew Garland Breeden, who's an editor for the Upper Room, about why he thinks Christian community is important. And I want to challenge us to challenge other people in our lives who don't have regular connection with Christian community, to think about why it's important, why church matters. Does church matter because you like everybody who attends your particular church? Does church matter only if you agree with everyone and everybody who attends church is perfect or doesn't rub you the wrong way or isn't failing in one area of their spiritual or psychological life or relationship life? Or do people have to be perfect in order for you to join the community? Do people have to all measure up to your standard of what's correct or good or right about what you value in Christian community? I mean, and I'm not suggesting go somewhere where you don't agree with the big picture and the values of the community. I'm suggesting if you found a place that matches your commitments, if the United Methodist Church stands for what you feel is the gospel message of Jesus, it reflects your convictions of what that means, then is that enough? Or do you have to like everybody who's in church? Or is the point of church something more than liking everybody and agreeing with how they think and how they live out those values that we say we believe in? I'm asking questions. I think about this all the time, actually. Why do people not go to church? Why do they go to church? The reasons for the answers to both those questions run the gamut of possibilities. I've heard all kinds of things over the years that I've been in church and then as a leader, as a pastor in the church. And the reasons change over time. Just as human beings, we change over time. And what we're looking for, what we need, and what we realize we need changes over time. That's one of the points that Andrew Breeden makes. But even in the midst of those changing needs and reasons, what are your expectations about why church or Christian community is good for you, is important to you? Andrew writes, a few years ago I attended a church luncheon. Because I don't eat meat, I had asked for a vegetarian meal prior to the event. When I arrived at the luncheon, I realized my request had not made it to the person in charge of ordering the food. I could eat the macaroni and cheese, but nothing else. I found a seat at a table with 3 people I didn't know well. We were all relatively new members to the church. In fact, that was the purpose of the gathering, for new members to get to know one another. I don't remember all the details, but I must have told them about my predicament because each person at the table offered me the small container of macaroni and cheese that had come with their lunch. I was grateful for their kindness. However, the full significance of their gesture did not strike me until several months later during another meal with friends. At one point in the conversation, someone asked me, what's one of the most nourishing meals you've ever eaten and why? And that's when I thought of the macaroni and cheese at the church lunch. I had been struggling to find a church community where I felt at home. I was looking for a place to belong, a place that could use my gifts and a place that would challenge me and support my spiritual growth. So I'll have all four of those things. That's why I love church and I'm committed to the church. A place to belong, a place to use my gifts, a place that would challenge me. So I'm not there to feel comfortable or made to feel good all the time. A place that would challenge me, and a place that will support my spiritual growth. What is spiritual growth? Let's keep reading. We keep listening to what Andrew's written. Well, that was my spiritual growth was a part of my life that was becoming increasingly stagnant. It was a painful and confusing search, and I had often thought about just giving up. And that's when I stumbled into this community. I have read many meditations over the years that tell stories of how Christian communities have met the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs of people in amazing ways. Stories that are much more compelling than the one I am telling you now. Stories that required far more sacrifice, more courage, and more risk. But the value of the gift is not only in what it costs the giver, but in also what it means to the receiver. Let that sink in. If you were to ask me why we need Christian community, my answer would probably change depending on the day. And that's because our spiritual needs change as life changes. For example, some days we need encouragement, and other days we need people with whom to share our joy or feel valued for the contributions we are making to the world. We need people around us when doubt kicks in or illness comes. And we need them there when we're aching to be seen and to feel a sense of belonging. Whether they intended it or not, my table companions helped me see that I had found what I was looking for, a group of people attentive to the needs of others. And it was also a simple lesson about why we need each other. God reaches us through other people. My physical need that day was minor in the scheme of things, but there was something much deeper at work that had nothing to do with macaroni and cheese or my hunger. My physical hunger, anyway. I tend to think that if we're looking for a sign, we will eventually find it. And that says more about God than it does about us. This was the first of many signs letting me know that I had found my community. Well, I pray that we can have the grace of community, that we can recognize why we need each other, what we need ourselves to give and receive when we come together as church, when we are together through the week as the church, when we are making connections in prayer and acts of service, in acts of compassion, in meeting the needs around us, in offering words and notes and cards of encouragement, and offering to recognize one another's contributions and value each other. Let's not be the church that took everything we had for granted and didn't realize it till we lost it. I want this church to thrive. It starts with each one of us being 100% committed to the flourishing of our church and to believe in who we are, that God is with us, and to live into those values as best we can. What values? Well, read Galatians 5:22 and 23. Start there. The values of God's kingdom are reflected in the characteristics of the Spirit of God, the fruit of the Spirit at work in our lives. Is like the fruit on a tree tells you what kind of tree it is. So those 9 characteristics in Galatians 5:22 and 23 are meant to be what people experience, what we give and receive to one another and receive and give to God. It's what tells the world that We are plantings of the Lord, trees of righteousness, of right relationships, of justice, goodness, of mercy, and compassion, faithfulness, faithfulness to God, fidelity to the values and the Spirit of God. Let's plant this tree, the church, for future generations. Let's not be thinking just about what we're getting out of it, but what we're meant to give for people who aren't yet here. Well, that's some of the thoughts on my heart today about why we need Christian community. What's different about us? Why not just join the Rotary Club or some other group? Join a gym. Don't you get something special from Christian community? And doesn't the world need what Christian community has to offer? Not magical thinking, not fables and mythology and creeds and but the real presence of the living God. Think about it. I hope Christian community is important to you. And I hope God blesses you with amazing ways to give and receive.